What's up, Buffs fans, and welcome into Buffs News Weekly Live. I'm your host, Russ, and if you like what we... Hold on one sec. If you like what we do here, feel free to hit that like, subscribe. We are on the road to 7,000 now, thanks to you wonderful people subscribing in mass. We had over 100 subscribers in the last several days, so we are over the 6,000 mark. So appreciate you for that. A little bit on today's show, okay? This is going to be a little bit different than my usual show because I have a lot of information and news and things to share with you guys over what is happening right now with CU football. And we've got a lot of things to cover. I've got a lot of things that I have to put out there. And I have scrupulous notes that I've been taking this morning. I've worked really hard on all of this information, making sure that it is good information, making sure that it is information that I want to share with everybody. And on top of that, just things that I want to kind of piece together as best I can without just rambling, without missing anything, and without, really not getting across the message in the correct way. So a couple things that I want to throw out there before we get started, okay? First up, I'm going to do my best with the chat. I'm going to try and star and highlight chats as best I can, okay? But with what I have to get out there today, I'm not going to be able to address the chat in real time. I'm not going to be able to address the chat regularly like I normally do, okay? In my normal streams, that's what it's about. It's conversation between you and me kind of giving you my thoughts. Today is going to be a little bit different. If you for sure want to get, and again, I apologize for having to do this. It's just kind of the best way. It's why it was invented. If you do want to make sure that your chat while I am speaking at some point gets read, a super chat is super helpful. Again, I don't require a minimum amount of money to be able to have me read a super chat. So you want to throw out there the 99 cents to make sure your chat is absolutely read at no matter what. That's what you can do. I'll throw that out there. It is what it is because, again, I've got to get this information out to you guys and kind of piece together everything for you so that you guys could hear exactly what's going on and understand that there's a lot more to this than a lot of people know. And there's a lot of things that we have speculated over the last year. Not only myself, but plenty of other people have speculated that I now have much better confirmation to know exactly what has kind of happened and what is happening right now at Colorado. And why right now at this very moment, I am feeling a lot more positive about where the program is going. Was this season the proverbial crap that it was? It absolutely was. But there's a lot to that. There's a lot to why it happened. And there's a lot to why I feel like going forward, I'm feeling a lot better about this. I'm very excited to see what happens. Does that guarantee success in the future? Absolutely not. It doesn't. And you'll see why. And you'll see also why I'm excited about it. And I'm going to start off all of this piecing together to truly just kind of talk about Coach Prime himself as a person and how amazing he truly is. Okay. I want to start off first and foremost. This is you're not going to get some negative spin, some secret behind the scenes dish that shows that Coach Prime isn't a good person or anything like that, because it's in fact quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. It's the people who know Coach Prime know the facts and know truly what kind of person he is. So big shout out to some of the people that are involved. I'm also going to corroborate some of the messaging that came out. I'm trying to get him on the show this week, but like Duke's The Scoop put out some information. He recently visited Colorado, and he talked kind of mysteriously because, again, he is so ingrained in the program and tied to Coach Prime. He can't share everything that is going on there that, would easily prove what he is saying. And so, shout out to him again, trying to get him on the show. And I'll go into more detail. Again, I'm sorry I'm being so cryptic right now because, again, I'm going to get to all of it. It's going to be covered all of it during this show. I just want to make sure that I get this all out there first, and then we kind of go through everything together. Okay. So we'll figure out, we'll explain all of that. Again, I'm not going to monitor the chat. I'm not going to be reading your chats, all of them. I will do the best I can to highlight some of them to read later on. But again, if you truly want something read, the easiest and best way to prove that is the 99 cents. This stream, by the way, is not on Twitter live. I usually stream simultaneously on YouTube and Twitter. I wanted to reward the people who actually come over to YouTube to be able to see this, support myself, be a part of this, and be a part with actual Buffs fans. So views are going to be down today compared to what they are, but that's not the point. Okay. I wanted to get this info out there. I wanted to show it. And if people over on Twitter want to come over here and watch, great. If you watch this later on, great. Let's get into it. Okay. Let's dive into it. Okay. So first up, I wanted to talk about Coach Prime. And I just wanted to lay this out there before I even get started to prove that this isn't going to be your usual, this isn't a hit piece. This isn't a, I'm just looking for the negative. It's not that at all. So Coach Prime, what I'm realizing more and more, again, I've met the guy once. It wasn't even truly meeting him. I literally just ran into him in public, got to say hello. So I don't have any specific ties directly to the program. Okay. I am not friends with Coach Prime. I do not converse with Coach Prime, anything like that. But everything that both myself and you as a person, if you truly look at what Coach Prime does and who Coach Prime is, there are very, very easy things to see about who he truly is. And that is a man of integrity. Okay. A man that when he says he's going to do something, he does it. Okay. Or he puts the things in place to try and make it happen. Okay. Because I'm sure a lot of people in the comments will say, well, he said, this comment about being better and this comment about winning and all this stuff. Winning is subjective. Everybody wants to win. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about when it comes to integrity is when he says that he's going to be making changes, he means he's going to be making changes. And he said that several times during the season, and people didn't like the fact that we didn't get to see those changes right away. Okay. We did not get to see those changes right away. But they happened. And that's what we're going to talk about today, by the way. We're going to talk about the timeline of this last year. What happened at Colorado? What led to this crappy season? What led to Colorado being in the shape that it is now? And why Coach Prime is saying, I made a mistake and I'm going to fix it. You guys remember last stream, I talked about both myself and anybody and in just society, how we need to be able to not only, and again, somebody corrected me in the chat and I absolutely love what they had to say, but we as a society need to realize that it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes and no one is perfect. But the difference is, what do you do with that information? When you make that mistake or you have that issue occur, if you have things go wrong, do you just continue doing it? The definition of insanity, or do you make some changes finally when it's become fully clear that what you were doing was wrong? Okay. So, when I say that, you truly look at this, and as we go through this story and we talk about Coach Prime, and we talk about what's happening with the program behind the scenes and what's going on right now. The other thing that I'll say is Coach Prime is truly a different, unbelievable human being. Okay. No matter what people want to say, people will bring it down. People will say that that's not how college football should work. I can at least respect Coach Prime for being who he is, for being a man of integrity, for being a man that truly cares about others. And I'll explain why. Okay. as well. Now, he truly cares when I say about people. And the positive stories, by the way, about Coach Prime and the positive things that he does, they don't sell. Okay, so I'm gonna hit that part here right off the bat too, of why you see the opposite of this. So I saw a great analogy, by the way, yesterday, from a Dave Chappelle show, recently, that he said, and it was a political conversation, so I won't get into that aspect. But what he said during it absolutely hit me directly, and it made complete sense. Okay. He was talking and said that what we need to realize is, in the age of the internet, negative words sell. Okay. Negative words sell, and people capitalize it on the daily. It's what is completely proven. Okay. When you have something negative to say about somebody else, it is going to sell 100% of the time. And I can be honest, the few times this season that I have at all posted something that even mimics something negative about the program. So after the 2 blowouts, I had YouTube videos that I posted talking about, my caption was, what will the next excuse be for what this team is? Okay. You can take that for however you want it to. I truly wanted to know, because I felt like the team was just going in one direction. And again, we had no idea what was happening. We had no idea what was going on. We were clamoring for change, for public outward change. And again, that's not who Prime is, and there's a reason for that. But that ends up being one of my most watched videos during the season. So yeah, it happens. But as we've talked about on this show before, there are people out there that just choose to focus on that negative aspect, and that is how they've found to get their success. Somebody that I know a lot of people don't love is, of course, Jason Whitlock. Okay? You guys ever pay attention to that? Even if you're a fan of him, go look at all of his videos, everything tied to him. And you will see that in every title, in every description, in every post, he uses some sort of slant to the negative to drive views. And he's not the only one in the world that does it. Literally, some of the top most watched podcasts, videos, content creators, anybody, okay? They slant to the negative, and it gets them the views. Okay? There's other ones. There's Buffs content creators, which we talk about all the time. They may start off one way, but the easy path to success when it comes to this platform, the easy path to success is to slant to the negative. So if a team like the Buffs that you love shuts you out, you are going to not have the same kind of, I guess you could say, allegiance to it. And yeah, the best way to succeed off of that name is to just talk negative about it, is to just talk negative and to find ways to show what is going on negatively. Now, as we get into more of this, you guys will start to understand. You guys will start to understand what I'm talking about when it comes to all this. Okay. And that's what's going on. Okay. So we have that. Let's get into this. Okay. Obviously, Friday, there was a mass exodus of players. We're going to talk about what happened, why those players are leaving, why this is a full rebuild, and why all of this matters. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about when it comes to the exodus is, of course, the fact that I've been saying that Alex McPherson wasn't going anywhere. And of course, people have reached out to me and been like, well, Alex left. What happened? Did something change? Russ, you're wrong. Yeah, I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. I had a nice conversation with Alex's dad at the BYU game, and I'm going to now share some of that information and some of that stuff that I heard. Because again, now there's all this story being written about him leaving, about why he's leaving, about what's wrong with the program, all this stuff. And that isn't what I heard firsthand. I heard firsthand that the reason why Alex chose Colorado in the first place was he loved the state of Colorado. He loved his position coaches. He loved his position room. And he was really excited about being there. And mind you, the team was off to a slow start at that point. Yeah, things got worse. But that isn't why he left. Truthfully, from everything I've heard now, and again, I also had a conversation with his dad about Alex's money earning potentials. And his dad was very adamant, constantly saying he's been getting offered all these NIL deals that he's declined because that's just not who he is as a kid. He's a quiet kid. And that's true. I mean, he wasn't featured heavily on well-off videos. He wasn't in that spotlight behind the scenes. He just put his head down and worked. Halfway through the season, Alex got a new agent. A lot of this stuff came from that agent. In fact, a lot of these players that left are repped by some of the same agents. But the fact is that money became a little bit different of an issue at that point. So you see the mass exodus. I'm going to talk about that more. I'm going to talk about that more in facts because, and by the way, I'll let you guys know this too, as we get into the details more about what information I've learned in the last 24 hours and how it affects Colorado. I got this corroborated by 3 different sources that have no ties to the program. 3 different sources that are not within the walls. This is not me getting information from like Bucky. This is not Dion telling me this. This is 3 people that have nothing to gain from the Colorado information. And I used the 3 of them to be able to corroborate the pieces of information that I got by not telling them it, by not saying, hey, this is what I heard. Is this what you heard? No, it was literally like, hey, so what's going on at Colorado? I hear you might know something. And they threw out the same story, all 3 of them, word for word, about what is happening and what happened at Colorado. And that is why I wanted to do this video. I got permission from them to, talk about this information. And it's not, something that is trying to be held as a secret. And so that's where it's coming from. Okay. So I'll tell you all of this. We're going to talk about also NIL budget, because I heard the rough estimate of what the NIL budget is for Colorado. Again, money's not the issue. And I will let you know what's going on. Okay. But yeah, mass exodus of players. We'll go more into that in detail. I wanted to bring up the Alex stuff first and foremost. Okay. But plain and simple, there's 2 reasons that all of those players left. And one of them, it is money. It is money in a very specific way. The other reason is roles. Their roles in this program going forward and how those roles match the money that they're getting paid. Okay? You look at any professional sports, and you go look at professional sports specifically, because again, professional sports, there is a salary cap in place. And so you have to put players into specific roles, right? You can't just go spend willy-nilly in professional sports. Colorado, I've always said it. We do not have unlimited funds. We do not have 60, 70, $100 million a year to spend on a team for one season. Okay, teams that do that, yeah, they can go out and throw money like crazy at just random players until they all fit into the specific holes they're supposed to go in, and the team's successful. Great. Teams like Colorado, but more importantly, team like Indiana, who has a great coaching staff, knows how to develop, knows how to put players into their roles. Okay? But does so on a lower budget than necessarily a Texas A&M, a Michigan, an Ole Miss. These teams that have all the money in the world and they can just spend like crazy. Okay. It's what we've talked about. It's what's happening. And so that's what we have going on here. Okay. So the money and the roles did not line up. So when somebody goes out there and says, hey, I heard from so-and-so player and they were not wanted at the program. Not being wanted is not, you're not good at football. Not being wanted is it's not that the team wouldn't love to keep you on the roster. Hey, if you want to come play on the roster for a low amount of money, they would welcome you with open arms. The problem is that some of these players are wanting more money than the role that they're going to have on that team and the role that they see for them on that team moving forward now that a lot of things have changed around this program. Okay? So that is what happened, essentially. That is what's happening right now. And I will let you know exactly why we've gotten to this point. Why Colorado is in essentially rebuilding in year 4. Okay? So before I get to that, before everybody comes at us saying, why is Colorado rebuilding in year 4 of Dion? You know, Coach Prime is getting paid all this money and he's rebuilding after he already started a rebuild 4 years ago. Okay? Here it is. Coach Prime had Shedeur. Coach Prime had Travis. Okay? And they had a lot bigger of a role than you guys think. Obviously, the news came out that, Shedeur and Travis were paying into NIL, helping fund the team, helping get the team they want. That isn't what I'm talking about, and we'll get into that. But Shedeur and Travis were Band-Aids on a ship that was not built very well. Okay? Coach Prime, he trusted a lot of people. He trusted a lot of people because that's who he is. He is a man that loves the people that are connected to him. And as a lot of people said this season, and with, his buddies on the team and how his buddies aren't doing him any favors. Well, Coach Prime has been able to kind of figure that out this year. But Coach Prime is also, unfortunately and fortunately, again, both those sides, a man of integrity / a man who cares about people near him. Even if you do him wrong. Even if you do him wrong. I guarantee, by the way, and I've heard this story actually, all those players that left Colorado and then, went on to do things they shouldn't have, like telling, stories to the news to try and get Coach Prime in Colorado in trouble. If those players went back to Coach Prime and apologized and asked for help with something, I guarantee you, because again, I have heard these stories now from multiple sources that Coach Prime would go and move mountains for those kids. That's how much he cares about these kids. And I will let you know that every player that comes to play at Colorado, the number one reason they come to play at Colorado is Coach Prime because of who he is. That's what I'm finding out more of. We're going to get through all those stories as we go through this. So the team was held up those first couple years by Shedeur and Travis, making up for all of the other crap that was going on. And because there was some success, going from 1-11 to 4-8 to 9-4 and a chance at the Big 12 championship in the last week of the season. Okay. To then the season afterwards where it's like, okay, we're losing our 2 superstars, but instead of rebuilding or instead of tearing it down or whatnot, we're going to do what most college programs are supposed to do, which is we are going to retool. We're going to retool what is happening at Colorado. We're just going to add on what we have. We're going to kind of continue the same model, not knowing that deep down that model had way too many holes in it that were upheld by Travis and Shedeur. Then this offseason hits, and what happens with Coach Prime? Coach Prime has some severe health issues that pull him away from this program for near 4 months. And during those 4 months, the team is left to be ran by several people behind the scenes. Several people who, by the way, were directly responsible for why things weren't being built up as well as they should have. And when I say that Coach Prime is a man of integrity / a man who understands when he can admit that he did wrong, but that he can make changes. Because I don't even have to look in the chat. I already know what's being said by several people. I don't even have to look down at that chat because I can already hear it. We're going to hear people saying, again, the rebuild in year 4 is stupid. Coach Prime is absolutely to blame. Coach Prime shouldn't have been letting these things happen. It's all falls on Coach Prime because he's the head coach. And guess what? You guys are absolutely right. And guess what? Coach Prime agrees with you. He is making the hard decision to reboot this thing rather than do what a lot of you said he was going to do, which was leave. Just up and leave. He could have said, hey, I've got health issues. I'm leaving this program where it's at. I'm going to let somebody else deal with a rebuild at this point with what happened because of my mistakes. He's not perfect. He's not perfect. No one is perfect. And I respect the hell out of him for that. You guys can say whatever you want in the chat when I get through it and all that. Tells me who you are as a person. If you don't understand the ability to, hey, I screwed up, but I'm going to make this right. All of Coach Prime's comments this season align exactly with that mentality. The final comment of the season with the Last Supper, that's exactly what it was. It was him admitting that I made a massive, massive, massive mistake, but I'm going to fix it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to at least put this program in the direction it should be going so that if for some reason I'm not here anymore, I'm not leaving it in a worse spot than what it was heading towards. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. Okay? So we'll get into who's on the staff, what's going on with that, why that's happening, all of that, because it starts a lot further off than that. But obviously it starts with last year and Coach Prime leaving the responsibility of this program in the hands of a few people. And there is one person that I will bring up by name that is the corroboration. I literally talked to 3 sources and they all said the same damn thing about why this program is in the shape that it is. There is a specific person that caused a lot of these issues. There is. And it needs to be out there. It needs to be talked about. And we need to realize that we're going to be heading in a better direction as a result. Okay? But that's the timeline. So the rest of the timeline for this season, obviously, failures while Coach Prime's out. Coach Prime makes a return right before the season starts. As he mentioned in several press conferences, he hadn't even met half the team. He didn't even know half these kids. And that, again, that's on Coach Prime. That is. It's on the cancer, unfortunately, more than anything. But as a head coach of a football team, you need to be able to make those things. You need to know about these players. You need to know about their backgrounds and where they came from and who they are and what they are. Okay? And so the season comes, the season starts off, things are not looking good. Obviously. I will let you know that changes on this staff started week 4. Week 4. We're going to get to it. Week 4, changes started on the staff. Okay? That is when a lot of the players, and remember that David and I talked about, because we found out and figured out very quickly that a majority of the staff at Colorado did not have contracts past this year. So when we said throughout the season to you guys, hey, there's not going to be any firings That's exactly right. There were never any firings. Pat Shurmur was not fired. Brett Bartolone, not fired. The other coaches that are not going to be here anymore are not fired, okay? They were told week 4 that they would not be retained past the end of the season. They were told that changes were going to be made and that they should be looking for other jobs. And so that's exactly what happened. They knew that they were no longer going to be a part of this job. That's why we saw changes. By the way, hey guys, remember when Gavin Mueller flipped? Yeah, that was around the time that Brett Bartolone finally found out that he was no longer going to be here anymore. Okay? Gavin Mueller flipped because Brett Bartolone was not going to be here anymore. Okay? It wasn't because Miami gave the kid a bag. They gave him money. They gave him roughly as much money as we were going to give him. It was because Gavin Mueller was coming here for Brett Bartolone as his position coach and who he worked with one-on-one. Okay? Miami did not try very hard to get Gavin Mueller. That's just not the case. But he moved on. So that's what happened there. But all these coaches, there was change. So you guys remember, Coach Prime, around the week 4 mark, I don't remember the exact week. I didn't go back and look. But remember, he said, even in one of his press conferences, I know it needs to be changed, and I'm changing that now. But here is why Coach Prime is a better person than a lot of you and even myself. Rather than just go on a firing spree midseason, which probably would have been better for Coach Prime and who you guys think he is, and who wants to say in the chat that, Coach Prime's a fraud. No, Coach Prime was like, I'm not going to fire you right now. I'm going to be the better person at this point. I'm going to help your family. I'm going to help who you are in your career. I'm not going to end your career now. You go look for other jobs elsewhere. You're not going to be retained at the end of the season. Here's a runway I'm giving you. Essentially, what Coach Prime did with a lot of this staff is he gave them a golden parachute to help them figure out what they were doing in the offseason. And I've already seen it kind of pop up in the chat. The person I'm alluding to, the person I'm talking about it, the issue of who was kind of running the insane asylum behind the scenes when Coach Prime was no longer here, and why we're kind of in this mess. And it's the person that I had to ask. It's the person I wanted to be sure. But I went to 3 different sources that have been a part of somehow getting tied to this program, and they all said the same 3 things over and over again, and all corroborated that he is the reason that we are in this mess. And that is head of recruiting, Cory Phillips. Cory Phillips was making all of the recruiting decisions, black and white. I will let you know that several of the position coaches wanted players badly that you guys, the fans, were screaming for as well. And he said no. Do you want to know where the Colorado recruiting mandate came from? That we're not going to take Colorado kids that we've been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks? It was Cory Phillips. He did not want any of those guys, especially the guys tied to Matt McChesney, because he did not want to give any credit to Matt for bringing those kids in. I will let you know there's other people on this recruiting staff. Hey, who's now the head of recruiting? Yeah, I know people were not happy or loving the fact that Coach Box was the head of recruiting now. Coach Box is the man. Coach Box, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, guys. You want to know who was essential to getting Julian Lewis to Colorado? It was Coach Box. Guess what, guys? I found out who was responsible for Caden Salter coming to Colorado to compete with Julian Lewis? It was Cory Phillips. So essentially, you had an infight in building of who should be the quarterback at Colorado. He didn't sabotage it. Kai, that's the key. I will bring up your comment because I don't want that to come up. It wasn't on purpose. No, it was because he thought he was right. Remember, this is the theme of today's show. Can we admit when we're wrong? Can we make things right when we're wrong? Or are we so adamant on saying that we were right that you will fight tooth and nail to try and make what you said right? Okay? That's the difference. That's the difference with what's going on. So I talked to 3 different people. One of them, I'll let you know, is somebody who's tied to college training and college drafting. And he said clients have been telling him the same thing about Colorado. Colorado has money. Do you guys want to know what the budget is for Colorado? Colorado's budget, roughly, is about $30 to $32 million. Okay? It's about $32 million. Okay? We aren't at just that $20 million revenue share. No, we've got extra that boosters have put up to build this team. And $30 million roughly is not a bad amount to put together a team. That $30 million puts you about top 4, top 3 in the Big 12, by the way. You're not going to beat BYU and you're not going to beat Texas A&M. Those are 2 programs that are very close to that whole, not unlimited funds, obviously Texas Tech. Texas Tech is in that echelon of unlimited funds. That's why they're number 1. BYU, they've got that background money. But we're top 3. You can put together a team with $30 million right now. Come back to me in a year or 2, and that's going to be completely out the window, by the way. I mean, look at what's happening this offseason with the quarterback portal and how much money is being thrown around at quarterbacks. Yeah, I mean, you're going to have $5-6 million a year quarterbacks be the norm. Okay? The fact that we are spending money on Julian Lewis at the rate that we are, he's going to get a big raise next year. We got to prep for that, okay? If he can have a successful season. And I'll address the Shimon Mateer stuff too, because I got some info on that as well. And I got some info on that side of things. Because again, you guys got to realize players are not going to trash themselves, are they? Are they going to ever say anything wrong about themselves? No, again, they can't be wrong, because if they're wrong, that's going to ding their playing career. You're getting half truths and half lies when it comes to the players that are feeding you-know-who information. Because again, he's decided to take that negative slant because it's what drives everything. He's not willing to get the other side of that information. So you guys can believe whatever you want on that. I'm done with that stuff. I'm done with that side. This is what I'm going to be. Because again, I was a coach at one point. Do you know how many times kids lied to their parents, lied to other people about what was going on at practice or what was going on about games because they couldn't face up to the facts of what was actually happening? Yeah, he did, because he wasn't in a role here. Again, he wasn't going to fit the specific role that Colorado wanted to use him. Not every player is going to succeed at every location. There are specific places where you fit in much more perfectly. But going back to everything I'm saying, let's talk about all the changes. Let's talk about what's happening. Let's talk about how this affects everything. So obviously, a lot of the position coaches had players they wanted to bring in and wanted to be a part of this program last year, and they were told no. Okay? A lot of our position coaches wanted to bring in recruits, and they were told no. Okay? They were told that you are not going to get the money to spend on that player because I said so. That's what happened. You guys want to talk about it? I get it. And we'll go right to this, because obviously this all kind of started and stemmed, by the way, from Coach Hart and the new linebackers coach, being said here on being hired. Okay, we got a new linebackers coach. By the way, Hart is not gone. Hart is not fired. Hart is not being retained. Coach Prime, again, he loves his guys because he has every right. Okay, was Coach Hart a good position coach? Was he good at coaching the actual position player to a T? Probably not. Okay. Not when it comes down to the true nitty-gritty parts of that linebacker position. Probably not. But you know what Coach Hart is good at? He's good at recruiting. He got 3 good linebackers out of the high school class this year, and he wanted to bring in a lot of really good linebackers in last year's portal. And he was not given the budget to bring in any of the guys he wanted. Did he bring in Reggie Hughes and did he bring in Martavius French? Yes, he did. But they were like plan D. Okay. Do you guys remember? You guys can hear me? Somebody just said they can't hear me. Can you guys not hear me? Okay. People are still reacting to what I'm saying, so I think they can. Joseph, I'm not sure why you can't hear me specifically. Okay. You guys remember last year when we knew we needed linebackers in the portal? And do you guys remember all of the visitors we had come in where we were bringing in like every top linebacker in the portal to a visit? Okay. Mind you, by the way, guys, budgets are talked about before you come on a visit. It's not like it just randomly comes out, because why even waste your time bringing a kid to Boulder if you don't have an idea of what you're going to pay him? The problem was that Coach Hart would do this and then get told, nah, you're not getting the money for that player. You're not getting the money for this player. That is what's happening. That was what happened during last portal cycle. Now, for the response. Oh, by the way, to go back a little ways, when I talked about Shedeur and Travis upholding this team and helping it to that 9-4, yeah, guess who was able to override Cory Phillips when it came to some of those recruits? Travis and Shedeur. Because when they would go to Coach Prime and say, hey, I want LeJontay Wester no matter what, that made it happen. That made it happen. But now that they weren't here anymore, and Coach Prime, again, believed in Cory Phillips, believed in what they were doing there, didn't know otherwise to not have faith in that. It is what it is. That's what he got this year when he's out of the building. That's what he got out of here when he was out of the building. So Coach Prime learned a valuable lesson this year. And again, mad props to Coach Prime. You can call him whatever you want. You can call him a fraud. You can do whatever. Mad props for him saying, oh, shoot, I made mistakes. I made mistakes. And I'll do one thing else. I'll do one thing else. Because I got this question asked, and I asked one of my sources about it. I got asked, well, why did Coach Prime choose Cory Phillips in the first place? Cory Phillips was not option number 1 as the head of recruiting, and he hated that. Cory Phillips hated that he was not option 1. Do you guys want to know who the option number 1 for Coach Prime was when he left Jackson State so many years ago? Option 1. Option 1. When it comes to Coach Prime and his head of recruiting was a certain Devin Rispress. Okay? Coach Prime couldn't get Devin Rispress to Colorado year 1 because Coach Prime had an agreement and a nice relationship with his coach out there. He had a relationship with Willie and couldn't take him away at that point, that late into a cycle. So they had a backdoor agreement that Respress would join the staff the next year. And guess what happened? Coach Respress came the next year. Now, do you guys remember when Coach Respress came in? Do you guys remember how crazy? He didn't coach at JSU. Nobody said he coached at JSU. You prove through all your comments that you don't listen to a single thing I say. You don't listen to a single thing I say. So Coach Respress comes in to Colorado, joins the recruiting staff. Okay. So now Cory Phillips has the guy that was supposed to be in his job on his staff. And not only that, do you guys remember when Coach Respress, you know why he said no? Because Cory Phillips told him no. Jesus, your mom, you are dense. You're proving how dense you are. Every one of your comments, I've seen them, by the way, in the chat. You just look dumber and dumber every time you say it now today. I'm done with it. Okay? Respress came in. Do you guys remember how vocal Respress was? How hyped he made everybody? How he became the focus almost of the recruiting room? And everybody was like, dang, Respress is like the one who's like, it feels like he's doing things now. It feels like he's running things. And what happens when a person who has this ego that they have to be right, that they have to be the man in charge, is starting to look like they're not so much in charge anymore? Yeah, you don't want that guy here anymore. Respress got pretty much ran out of Colorado when he was supposed to be the one to take over recruiting because of what was happening. So here's what happens now. Okay. This is the backstory. This is everything that I heard. Again, heard it from multiple sources of people who have either been tied to Colorado through recruiting or have, or are potentially going there because of recruiting or working in player personnel in college football. Those are where I'm getting all this information. And so that's what happened. So Coach Prime, 4 games into the season, realizes, oh crap, it is bad. It is bad, and I need to fix this right away. I need to fix this right now. But again, he is a better person than most of us. And he doesn't just fire everybody, doesn't just, he says, you need to be looking for a better job. You need to be looking for another job. Okay, you're going to be without a job. Cory Phillips, you're one of them. Okay? Pat Shurmur, we're gonna be moving on at the end of the season no matter what. Just do what you're doing. And then eventually, I'm going to give play calling duties to Bartolone. And then Bartolone, you're getting your chance for a week. Not much is changing. Not much is getting any better. I'm sorry. We're just going to move on from you at that point. Okay, Gavin Mueller decommits because Brett Bartolone is no longer going to be part of this program going forward. There's your timeline on things as they start to happen. There are other coaches on this staff that will no longer be here. Okay? There are other coaches on this staff that will no longer be here. Okay? I will let you guys know timeline-wise that probably by the end of this year, you will see new coaches, more new coaches. The coaching staff at Colorado will be finalized. Okay? Coach Hart, still on the staff. He's still going to have a part of this. I don't know what his title is. I don't know what he's going to be doing. He's not a position coach directly. Okay? He's not the linebackers coach anymore. That's why they hired a new one. We can talk about him more at the end of the stream. But Hart deserves to still be here and have a chance to be here. Okay? Everybody who wants to give Hart crap, wants to give him trouble. Somebody said in the chat that Coach Hart is not developing his guys. That's fine, but he's a damn good recruiter. He's a damn good person, and he absolutely deserves to be at Colorado. Okay? So I want Hart to still be a part of my program, and I'm happy that we have a linebackers coach now. Great. Let's move on from there. So that's the linebacker change. Hart not leaving, linebacker change. Other changes coming. I gave you guys the timeline when we should see that by. I will let you know. So here's what's happening right now. Here is how everything has changed at Colorado. Why I said that Coach Prime is a man of his word and why he's making these changes. He's admitting that he's wrong. He's admitting that he made some mistakes, and he's making a change. Coach Prime, since the season has ended, has been watching tape, not only on new players, but on current players, which brings me back to the mass exodus that we saw occur last week. Watching film on each of these players, watching film on what they're planning to do, he has been 24/7 working on stuff. Brennan Marion was part of that, okay? And I will tell you this, and this part, by the way, is not, I don't have any information on this, okay? Do not quote me on this. I already had said this. You guys can already assume, but I truly do think that Brennan Marion is the head coach in waiting. And I think that that's why this rebuild is occurring as well. Because I think that Coach Prime is going to work alongside Brennan Marion to right the ship that is Colorado, put it in an upward trajectory so that if and when Coach Prime needs to step away, he can hand the reins off and it won't affect Colorado in the least. That is a damn good coach. That is a damn good person. He doesn't have to do that. But again, the university believed in Coach Prime and paid him a lot of money. And so he's not going to leave them out in the cold and leave them in a worse position if he can help it the best he can. That's what's going on right now. I believe that's what's going on when it comes to Brennan Marion and what's happening with these changes and why Coach Prime would be fine. Again, this one is speculation. I don't have it on authority that like Coach Prime has a timer in his office where when that timer's up, he's stepping away and Brennan Marion becomes the head coach. That is not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that I feel that way, and I feel that's why he can do this at this point, is because he feels a little bit better about doing that. But Coach Prime watched all the tape on everybody this year, okay? Some kids were told, hey, if you come back, your role is going to diminish greatly. We're going to try and bring in players that are much better than you, much better than what you offered, and fit the scheme that we are going to play next year to a T. You guys want your example? You guys want your example? Omarion Miller. Love O. And O is going to go do amazing things. He is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver next year. You just watch. And I'm going to hear it from so many people who are going to say, well, why did Colorado let Omarion Miller walk? Why isn't he here? Why isn't he making a difference? Because the problem was Omarion Miller's role in this offense was going to be greatly changed next year. Could he still put up great wide receiver numbers? Yes. But as I said when Brennan Marion was hired, what is the one quote that you have to talk about when it comes to Brennan Marion and the offense that he runs? No block, no rock. Okay? If you're going to be a receiver that's not going to be the total package, if you're not going to be able to do every single thing that we talk about, you are not going to see the field. Now, do we think you, Omarion Miller, are going to be able to do that next year? We do. Do you believe that you can absolutely attain to that? Because if you don't, you could see the bench and it's your last chance to make it to the NFL. You could have a bad season result. So do you take what we're giving you, which, by the way, we're giving you the money that we feel you deserve for that role. We have other guys that we believe we can bring in who can match the production in this offense and be the role that we're looking for. So if you want to make way more money than that, great. We are going to talk to the coaches out there and tell them that you are just that good. We are going to back you up. We are going to give you the tape. We are going to help you find that spot and that money if you so choose. But this is what we're giving you. Take it or leave it, and you go. That's why a lot of people said, like, it felt like O was going to stay. O was going to stay for a long time. Then they did all of this reevaluation. Then they did all this checking. And they said, you know what? It's just not going to fit what we're going for specifically. And it's not going to fit for what we are going for money-wise. We're happy to pay this amount because it's what we're going to afford when we've got to change all these other pieces and we've got to spend money elsewhere. That's what's going on. Same with the defensive linemen, guys. Same with the defensive linemen. Here is what we think you are worth at your current play style in the current role that you are going to have next year. Do you want to take it or do you want to leave it? And certain people out there on the internet got information from those players that Colorado didn't want them anymore because that's what happened. They were told, this is what we'll give you. This is your role next year. If you're not fine with that, then I'm sorry, we're going to have to part ways. They didn't fight hard enough for him. They didn't throw enough money at the kids to keep him there and make him happy. That's what happened to an extent. And there's going to be more players hitting the portal. There is, because again, they have reevaluated everything. Because guess what? Deep down, this was a team that was constructed by Cory Phillips. This was a team that was constructed by Cory Phillips. And that's what happened. Tafiq, great guy. I think what the team said, again, this isn't me, and they could be wrong. That's what's great about this is they could be absolutely wrong. The team could be worse next year. That absolutely can happen. If sports were black and white and it was like, if I make this decision, I'm going to be successful, you don't think that the teams would do that? They can't see into a crystal ball like some of you fans in the chat think that you can. I can't. Nobody can. And so that's what happens. And what very well may happen, but that's what they've decided now after reevaluating and being more involved. Coach Prime is more involved than he has ever before been. He is on top of it. He is watching videotape on every player. He is going to be a part of every decision about which players get brought in, which players that are looked at, who Colorado says no to, and who they say yes to. He will be a part of every single conversation that has to do with that. And I will tell you guys, by the way, that not every head coach does that. In fact, most head coaches don't. That's why they have people in other positions to do that. But Coach Prime is at that point where he can't trust people yet now. And so he has to now dive in and be on it hands down. I'm just going to, okay, we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. I'm just going to do it now. I'm tired of it. It's just not even factual anymore. You don't want to listen. You don't want to believe me. That's fine. Just move on out. Move on out. The AD is still there. They're hiring a new AD. The AD has not stepped down. You don't know what you're talking about either. Again, it's just so great. Again, what did I talk about at the very beginning, guys? What did I talk about at the very beginning? That there are certain people out there that just want to be negative all the time, just want to do that. There are definitely people that only want to be positive. Yeah. You guys want to, there's going to be those people. That's fine. They're allowed to have that opinion. I'm not going to be that all positive. This is literally me stating facts that I have dove into all day to find and get you this information and find out exactly what happens. And what's great about it is every single person separately corroborated every single thing that I got. And then it all lines up with everything that happened. You guys, every time that we've had a head scratcher of a move that you're just like, I don't get why that's happening. Why would we do that? Why would we do this? It doesn't make sense for this. It doesn't make sense for that. Everything that I was just fed lines up perfectly. That's why you know that that's why I'm even talking about this, is because it absolutely lines up. And if you don't want to believe it, then don't. Just go. At this point, just go. I'm at that point now, too, where I have enough people watching this content and understanding this content and realizing what this content is that I don't have to just keep somebody like that around just for the sake of it, just for the sake of the eyes or the clicks. Because, again, that's not what we're going to be. I'm fine with people coming in with negative opinions of Colorado. I'm fine with that, but at least be smart about it, okay? Offer actual opinions with background. You know, Peter, bit of a troll off the time. Every now and then he says something really good. I like it. Your mom was like that until today, where it just seems like now he's just going off the rails thinking that I'm just this like obviously positive person that just can't. No, I literally researched all day about this stuff. I have spent all morning. It's why I waited until 1 o'clock to go live with you guys to share all this information. Okay. Coach Dre knows about this stuff. He knows about this stuff. There are several other people that know about this stuff. There's plenty of people tied to the program that know all this information is coming from facts. Okay. And I get it. If you don't want to give Coach Prime the pass, or you want to say whatever, that's fine. That's your ability to do that. Absolutely. But I also, it is what it is. That's probably the biggest question I have. I haven't gotten the full answers on what happened with that, why it happened, what is going on at that time. It is what it is. But Coach Box, I'm excited to see what he does. The dude, he definitely deserves to be in that role. By the way, Coach Box has brought us a lot of our best players over the years. The reason that we have Julian Lewis, the reason why Julian Lewis is still here, the reason why a Jordan Seaton is here is because of Coach Prime, Coach Box, the guys that are truly tied into what this was supposed to be about. That thing switches every day. I feel better about it today. I don't know if you guys saw, a lot of people also tied into the fact that Seaton was leaving based on the fact that he changed his profile stuff from CU to non-CU. He went back to CU today. He changed his profile photo to CU today. Again, he's doing commercials in CU gear. He's updating stuff with CU stuff. Like, all of that is happening. I can't say that sounds like, especially in the middle of all these people leaving, I can't see why it would be Seaton leaving at this point. You missed some insane stuff today. You missed some insane stuff. Yeah. He's messing with us now at this point. In a good way. Probably messing mostly with the negative people out there and what they bring. But there's that side of it. Bio doesn't matter. Like, seriously. Why have a picture of you in your CU jersey like that, prime and center, in Boulder? I think during that photo shoot that he did recently too. Like, it's kind of crazy stuff. But there's that stuff. Kai, it has its negatives and drawback. Okay? It's just who he is. Prime is a great person. He is a great person that just loves too many people. I mean, it just shows you who he has been. It is who he has been. And so there it is. As far as what's happening now, like I said, the biggest change is Prime's making sure that this goes right. No more trusting the other people around him, more oversight. Once he does trust somebody again, they'll have more say, but he's going to be hands-on with everything. Film watching, breakdowns, every little thing. No more letting the other people take control of it. He is going to have an oversight. Is that micromanaging? Yes, but at this point, is it something he has to do? It absolutely do. It absolutely does. Player evaluations and roles have changed on this team. Thus why so many people left. Marion's bringing in his style. And I'm going to let you guys know right now. They have a big board up and running for the portal. They know what they're going after. They're going after players hard. They are going to try and remake this team in a season and try and make us competitive once again. They're trying to pull a Houston. You want to talk about a thing that happens? Houston lost their entire one. Peter, the players who returned would have to learn a new system because everything's changing. So it's the same thing. Why not just go start with the guys you actually want? Houston did it. You guys remember last offseason, we thought Houston was going to be terrible. They lost the most in the portal. Yes, eventually we need to pull in Indiana. The problem is that Indiana, the more I look into it, the more that there was a base. Cignetti did have his base because he was so good at what he did in JMU. We can't start with that now. We got to start almost even more from scratch, so it's even more like Houston. So are we going to win the Big 12 championship this year? No. Are we going to be competitive and have a decent season? And can we pull a bowl game? Absolutely. Absolutely we do. So there's that. We could. We absolutely could. I'm just saying it's going to be a little harder to do. It's going to be a little harder to do. I'm giving you guys expectations of what's going on and what's happening. Okay? So, they've got a lot of guys they're bringing in. Okay? Here's what you guys got to realize, and it's what I talked about a couple weeks ago. It's what a couple you like. It's what a couple you don't. I said stop buying SEC rejects. Stop going off of stars. Stop going off of rankings out there from On3, Rivals, and all these big things that give the headlines. Guess who was the one that was doing that? That's why things are changing. They're going to go after the snaps. They're going to go after players who want to be hungry, who want to play at the next level, who haven't been given the chance in their career and their life to make a difference. Guys, look at this year. Look at the guys who did succeed. Okay? Byard succeeded. Okay? Guy who figured things out, came, balled out, absolute dog. You know who else balled out that I think a lot of us liked, that I liked? Sean Myers. Sean Myers. He was a guy, when he got brought in, everybody just wrote him off and thought that he was going to be absolutely terrible, that he wasn't going to matter, that, you know, all this. He didn't get to play, unfortunately. Sucks. I hate it. He balled out at times. He had some issues at times. Did some things he wasn't supposed to. And is what it is. The point is, those are the type of players we need more on this team. Those are the type of players that we need more on this team. And that is what we're about to get, guys. Okay? So when you look at the players entering the transfer portal who are going to come to Colorado, I'm sure a lot of people are going to call us, you know, FCS Colorado, AAU Colorado. No offense, David. We've had a chat about it too. We've had a chat about what's happening. But we're going to be getting guys who are coming from lower levels, who are ready to take the next step, are ready to get a raise in their pay, and are ready to fight to right the ship, just like the players who decided that they are going to stay here and fight based on the role that they are given here. Julian Lewis, the kid is committed to Colorado, no matter what you say. By the way, right now, almost every single Big 12 team in the conference is going to have a different quarterback next year. They have all hit the portal, minus BYU because they've got money, minus Texas. Well, Texas Tech's going to go out and get one of those quarterbacks. But look at what's happening right now in college football. Nebraska lost their supposed savior quarterback, 5-star, that was supposed to turn the program around, even if he didn't. But Colorado kept their future player in a moment that they could have easily lost him because that kid is committed. Julian Lewis, props to you. Props to you. Props to your family, by the way. Props to Pops. If for some reason he ever watches this or sees this, I'm happy to say, by the way, I'm still blocked by Julian Lewis, but his dad followed me recently, which is, you know, it's fun. But he's locked in. Joseph Williams, locked in. Let's go down the list of all the players who came out and said they're locked in to Colorado. If you have them in the chat, let me know who else those guys are going to be because they have been absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing of what's going on. So there's that. Greaves, he's sticking around. He's our punter. But hey, he loves it through and through. Okay? I can guarantee that was exactly who I mean, if you're coming in here as the OC, of course, before you even take the job, you're going to have a conversation with that kid and make sure, hey, we're on the same page and what's going on. Oh, yeah, Zach Atkins, absolutely. Dog. He is my dog. Absolutely love that he is locked into Colorado. Absolutely locked into Colorado. Marion's recruiting hard. Marion's working hard. Carlton, you can give him credit for stuff. Absolutely. I didn't say everything. Obviously, we were 9-4 last year. So some of the decisions and things that he made were absolutely right. But I can tell you there was a lot of people that were not happy with the way that went. And in all honesty, too, by the way, I will say that things are not going to be sunshine and roses for Colorado going forward. Because again, one of those sources I talked to said that he may have damaged Coach Prime in Colorado when it comes to recruiting for a very long time with how they treated some of those recruits and the word that has gotten around the country as far as how things go down here. I said, I hope the fact that he's not here anymore and Box is, that changes very quickly. Very quickly. I hope that it can change. I hope that Box can change that. I hope that Prime can obviously change it. Because I will tell you this. What I heard from, one of those people was that everybody truly does deep down, a lot of these kids just want to play for Prime. They truly do want to play for Prime. And when the brass tacks get involved and the negotiations get involved, not necessarily Prime either. I know we've talked about that before and how Prime doesn't want to spend certain money, and that's still true. That's still true. He's not just going to be an open checkbook to give kids whatever they want. He's going to give you what you deserve. And there are some players out there that will come to Colorado and think they deserve a heck of a lot more than what they are worth. And are there teams out there that are willing to sometimes throw it? Are those players every time succeeding at that location? No, they're not. We don't talk about it because at a school that has unlimited funds, those kids that get the big bag, they're not the center of attention. They don't become in the news because we don't have public contracts yet. Until we have public contracts where you can scrutinize a kid for getting paid $1 million and doing nothing and sitting on the bench and then transferring, and people don't know the true story of how much they were paid, that's what happens. Look at all the kids, by the way, that didn't end up at Colorado and are in the transfer portal now. Because they went somewhere based on the amount of money they thought they were worth, and they were not worth it, and so they're now no longer with those programs. See how things are lining up and meshing? See how things are lining up and meshing with Colorado. So there's that. So CU is in a much better spot. They're moving in the right direction. I like what is going on. When it comes to that too, the thing everything I've heard is Kelly is not, his GM role is not like an NFL GM role, guys. We correlate the title with the idea of what a GM is. And you think that, okay, the GM in the NFL, they make all the decisions. They do everything. They do all of that. Think of a team like the head of recruiting at Colorado is really who makes the decisions when it comes to that stuff. They have the final say. You're not wrong there. You're not wrong there. And I've heard that from multiple people. Multiple people. That is why I bring up this information. It's not some random thing I heard. I literally got told by people that he rubbed them the wrong way. It hurt recruiting. It hurt their ties to recruiting. And that's where things are. It's where things are. Well, and Shedeur and Travis. Because remember, Shedeur and Travis were also giving Prime information when he couldn't be 24/7 on top of everything. So that's what's going on. Do you know if word of how recruits were being treated made it to Prime? I'm sure they did at times. I'm sure they did because I've heard stories about that. We've heard from commits and things that say they love Prime. They love what's going on. there's a lot of issues. Okay. Again, to the point that somebody else made earlier, the saying like, you can't just give him all the blame. I'm not giving him all the blame. I'm just telling you exactly what I'm hearing about what's happening in certain spots. We could also go to the fact that Pat Shurmur was a terrible OC. Like Cory Phillips wasn't doing the X's and O's. So there's on the field stuff that was happening as well. And we fixed that issue with a pretty darn good up and coming OC. Is it going to be perfect? Is it going to all of a sudden make us CFP contenders? I hope. There's no guarantee on that. But there is a key to that a lot of decisions on several of the player personnel that you guys did not like, that we as fans did not like, that we as fans were left head scratching, that we as fans wanted to blame Coach Hart and other coaches on the staff for those player decisions, was not the case of what was going on. Was not the case for what was going on. And what I love is, and you'll see this in the chat for a lot of people are like, yeah, you're right. This is what was happening. Either I already knew that too, or it's obvious. Once you put two together, you get 6. 2, 2, 2, 2, 6. You add it all up, you get those answers. You do. They're all there, guys. Here's the thing, G-Money, and that's what I think you missed, because it was why I started off my show with what I said about Coach Prime. If you missed it, if you didn't, I'm going to summarize it one more time here, because I want you guys to understand what's happening right now. Because again, people are taking all of what I said out of context already. I've seen it over on Twitter. People are sharing the stream over on Twitter saying that I'm, throwing everything on this one person. No, when it comes down to it, yes. When you're the CEO of a corporation and employees below you are doing things they're not supposed to, you absolutely take the blame. And I said it at the beginning. You know what Coach Prime could have done? He could have said, hey, you could have said, hey, my health isn't great. My kids are in the NFL. I want to spend my time with them. I'm going to ride off it in the sunset. I'm going to call it quits, and I'm going to, head out. But what Coach Prime did, and I will give him every piece of respect, and you absolutely should too, and anybody else out there, guys, should absolutely, but they won't, because again, that's not who we are as a society. When somebody says, hey, my bad, I made a mistake, it's my problem, it's my fault, but I'm going to fix it, that's a lot of big props. That's a lot of big props to give to somebody. Yeah. So that's what I want to say. Yeah, when it comes down to it, flat out, I will say it right now. You can clip this, you can post it online, out of context, whatever. I would be happy to look Coach Prime in the face and have a conversation with him if he wasn't okay with me saying this. When it comes down to it, the entire reason that we were bad this year and we're in the position we're in right now falls on Coach Prime, because he is the head coach. That is what sucks about being the head coach of a program. That is what sucks about being a CEO. But it's also why those people make the big bucks, because they are ready to take on the blame and they are ready to try and find a solution, even if while they're doing that, it does not look good. Because as you see in the chat right now, constantly, is people saying how Prime is a fraud. Prime is we're all Prime sexuals. We're all, just constantly, bending over backwards and kissing up to Coach Prime and all that stuff. No, the point was that I wanted to tell you exactly what was going on and exactly what Coach Prime is doing since he has taken on the blame and decided to fix it. Mad respect. And I do. I hope Coach Prime, I hope Coach Hart, I hope Bucky, I hope all of those people see what is being said on this video today, on this stream, and understand exactly what I'm saying, why I'm saying it, and what I'm trying to do in the whole thing. Because again, I am trying to say mad respect to all those people. When all of that stuff happened behind the scenes, and this is how they're responding to it and trying to fix it, mad props. Quick story, just to kind of like more put a personal touch on this. So why it's like, okay, I have respect for this. I talked about it, guys, before. Obviously, played Division II soccer on a really crappy team at a really crappy school. When I got there, we hadn't won in like 7 years. We finally won a game my junior year of college. My senior year, my junior and senior year, we had a new coach that came in, did his recruited his butt off, okay, to get kids that would never have come to our school. Built a great program, guys. Started to build a great program. Again, takes time, especially at that level, especially when money's not involved, especially when there's all this other stuff. As a coach, as my coach, he built up this program. My senior year, we won like 5 games, which again, huge turnaround, right? Huge turnaround. And we won 5 games. Things were looking great. We had a young core that was ready to take over. The majority of what made us great was those young players. And then what happens the last weekend of the season? We have surprise drug testing, guys. We get surprise drug testing, and it wasn't the NCAA. It was our school. I love sharing these personal stories with you guys. So we get randomly drug tested. And we have no idea what's going on. But then there starts to be rumblings about why we got randomly drug tested. And it was, not for performance enhancing drugs. It was for other drugs. Come to find out, all of that young core that my coach had brought in and worked so hard to recruit and rebuild, they got kicked out of school. They got kicked out of school. Testing positives, got expelled out of our school. Not even just kicked off the soccer team. He had no say, expelled by our school. And my coach, you could tell, was disheveled. An entire 2 years worth of work just went up in flames and down the drain overnight. So essentially, went through what Coach Prime went through this year. Where, all this work you did over the last couple of years to get something going, and you have to step away from the team for a few months due to your health. And that's what ends up happening to this team. I would not have blamed Coach Prime for walking away and just saying, you know what, I'm too old, I'm too tired, I have too much health stuff going on to just leave. So there's that. And Coach Prime, more power to you. Sticking it out, trying to right the ship, trying to work your ass off when you don't have to. You have nothing to prove. Obviously, you want to prove the haters wrong. We see it in the chat. You guys can see it happen on a regular basis. You can see it over on Twitter right now with what's going on. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, because guess what? Right now, I'm not slamming Coach Prime. I'm not putting the blame on him. I'm not giving him any excuses. I'm not saying that he can potentially shake this around, because I'm not doing that. You're not going to like what I have to say or what I'm doing. And that's fine. That is completely fine to me. I respect Coach Prime. I respect the hell out of him. I respect his staff. And like I said earlier, I respect Coach Hart, because if I hear that, he essentially had to coach with a hand tied behind his back as far as skill wise, and the players that he was, coaching while he brought them in were not the first choice. If he could, he wanted a very specific mold of player. That's a rough situation to be put into. And yet he still tried to go and be successful. So I'm fine with him being around here. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. That is the gist of all of the news and information I wanted to tell you. Like I said, I spent all morning piecing this stuff together. I spent all morning, chatting with different people. And once I started to connect the dots, connect the lines, get confirmation that this stuff was going on. And as you can see, there's plenty of people in the chat that'll back me up that have heard similar things from everything Tide. I was like, Coach Prime deserves that to be out there. He deserves that story to be out there. And while he's an extremely nice and gracious person that does unbelievable stuff for people, there are way too many people out there that want to crap on this team, crap on this program, crap on Coach Prime at this point, use Coach Prime's name in a negative light to make money off of it, do all of that stuff, and act like they're the next coming of God. That I'm going to throw this stuff out there. I'm going to get that information out there. We're going to talk about it. We're going to actually, put out there what's happening. It's way too hard to get a quick recap. I am so sorry. Like, feel free to go back, watch the video, put the speed up, get to the specific part where I start diving into it a little more. I know I rambled at the beginning to kind of tell you what was happening and kind of put things in perspective. But the purpose of this too was, you guys who are fans that want to be fans, that are true diehard Buffs fans, you deserve to know that, like, will tomorrow get better? I can't tell you. That's the problem. But I can tell you that Coach Prime and this team want it to happen. They truly do. And they truly want it to be better. I would really like to know why you think I'm a yes man. Low bucket. I truly want you to tell me why I'm being a yes man. I literally am beholden to nobody. In fact, by the way, guys, me sharing this news probably stops any chance of me from having any sort of access to the team either. Because while my information was positive in how it was proposed, it's also information that a lot of the people tied to the program were not going to put out there because of what it showed certain people in the light of. And Coach Prime, again, is a better person than that to put that out there. My source, I already told you, was not Coach Prime. It was not anybody directly tied to the program like that. In fact, it was all people who have nothing to gain from this program and technically don't see this program in a positive light at this moment. Like, that's what's crazy. That's what's crazy. Like, that's what it is. Yeah, I asked them if I could. They said not directly, no names. Like, they're all tied to recruiting in some way or another. They had direct dealings with our recruiting staff on a regular basis in multiple different ways. Did you listen to anything I just said? Did you listen to anything that I just said? That is what you got out of everything I just rambled on for an hour and a half. You got that I'm blaming the kids. That I'm blaming the kids. Literally this entire hour and a half, unless you are way behind, was me blaming the staff and why there are changes now happening. I'm just crazy, guys, because I'm a yes man who's blaming the kids. Like, that's what's crazy from some of you guys. And this is what I talk about with the people who have to be right, can't be wrong. The other problem, and I'll be honest, I will be honest, I've fallen under this issue in my regular life plenty of times. You know, you ever get in those conversations where you have something you want to say that proves you're right, or that you feel like is like the ace that's going to win you the argument right away. And so what do? You tune out what the person in front of you is saying until you get your opportunity to say what you want. You throw down that ace, acting like, yeah, I knew I'm going to win this argument. Yes. Yeah, I've been plenty times guilty of that in my life. The key is to be self-aware. Be self-aware and admit and work on that as best as you can. Work on that in your daily life. Work on that in whatever you do. Like, I had that issue. A little bit comes from mental stuff. I won't shy away from it. Probably have a little bit of ADHD and all that stuff as well. Have had it my whole life. I remember one of my teachers telling my parents that was absolutely horrible and I needed to get fixed and worked on about that. And I wasn't going to accomplish anything in my life because of it, because I couldn't just sit still and listen and really focus. It takes everything. It takes every one of us being able to be self-aware and understand that and know what's going on. And I will. It comes crazy to me. I want these people to understand and listen to what I'm trying to say. When it truly comes down to it, again, there is one person that is at fault when it comes to why CU is where it is. There is one person and one person alone. And it proves that I'm not that yes man. It all falls on Coach Prime's shoulder. It does. And yet Coach Prime took the blame, the responsibility, and said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fix it because that is my role as the head coach, as the CEO of my company, as the head of what's going on underneath me. I am going to make sure that I find a solution, and that is where the respect comes from. We need to do this more with everybody in life. Screw politics, screw the issues that we have in society today. If we just got to know one another and listen better to one another, no matter what your background is, no matter where you come from, no matter what you're doing, this world would be a better place overall. And yet, the internet, the ability to have everything immediately, the ability to throw everything out there immediately exists. And we do things that we shouldn't do. So there's that. I think it could have been better by having one person Boulder be in charge when he was out. Would have helped. King, I'd agree with that. Again, that's something he learned. If he gets in that position again, I think he's going to have better plans in place as well. I absolutely love it. I appreciate you guys that are supporting. I knew that you guys would. I knew that a majority would. I knew that this was going to get a lot of traction. I knew that I was going to get a lot of attention probably over on Twitter and all the social media spaces. I'm going to get a lot of hate. I'm going to get a lot of messages. I'm going to get a lot of private messages from random weirdos. It is what it is. This is who I'm going to be. This is who I am. This is what it's going to be. Guys, it is what it is. There's not much you can do, right? I mean, I don't know if I would want to do that. I've never seen a generational guy go from a generational guy to what he was this year. That's absolutely crazy if we want to get into college football later on with that. Who else is leaving? Are we talking players? Or are we talking coaches? Because we can have conversation about that. Players, I truly don't know at this point. I think we'll still see more hit the portal. Absolutely. But I think we're getting closer and closer to the guys who are going to stay. Because you do see that the players who are here have been posting in droves about how they are locked in. They are locked into what Coach Prime and this program are doing. They had those conversations with Prime. Everybody did. Everybody had conversations with Prime, and they had conversations with Brendan Marion, and they had conversations about where are we going, what's going to happen, what your role is, how much we're willing to pay for you next year, okay, what that looks like. And then are you ready to, or do you want to go down that route, or do you want to head out elsewhere? Do you want to pack your bags and go? And, that was the case. You take a guy like Jaheim Otis, and a lot of people will say, oh, Coach Prime probably kicked his butt out of here. What probably happened was, hey, this is how much we're going to pay you next year. We're not paying you what we gave you this year. Take it or leave it. He leaves it. He goes elsewhere. The fact is, these kids get a chance to compete for the most part. If you don't compete on the field, or if you don't want to compete off the field with, your decisions, then they will show you the door. They will show you the door, guys. That is what happens. So that's what's going on. As far as coaches go, I will let you know if you guys want to hear another tidbit. And again, a little bit of respect to him as a coach, but again, he's one of Coach Prime's best friends. From two of the sources that I heard, Coach Mathis was going to leave the program last year for an NFL team. And what stopped him from leaving was Coach Prime's health problems. He wanted to stay and try and help keep things together as best he could because of who he is. So more than likely, I could see Mathis taking an NFL job, but it also, I know people will say, well, why did Cole Mathis say he's sticking around at the Buffs? Because Mathis isn't going to go to another college and take his kids with him. Like, those kids are here because of Prime. Those kids are here because of Prime. And so there's a likelihood that could be one of those moves. I don't have a confirmation that is happening this time around. I do know that there are going to be two more defensive coaches that are brought in. Remember, you guys have been hearing the whole, there's still a big splash coming on the defensive side. I don't know who that is. I don't have any. And I told you who I would love it to be. Like, let's be honest. I told you who I thought if it is him, again, I have no sources on that. I would love Pat Surtain to be brought in as a defensive coach on this team. So I would absolutely love for that to be the surprise, but I don't have any info on that. Again, I only tell you what I know and what I'm allowed to share, and I don't even have that. Okay. The other info I have as far as like what could be coming as far as coaches go. Obviously, we need a tight ends coach now that Bartolone's gone. So that's being looked at. And, we're probably looking at a new wide receivers coach. I will tell you that Coach Schad is here. Coach Schad is still here. He's locked in. He's going to be still a part of this. And he's a big part of recruiting, by the way. Coach Schad is again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. I'm sure somebody in the comments will throw a comment my way saying that I mispronounce it, but he's sticking around. I think that was part of it. Whether or not Prime believes that, here's the thing. What Prime needs is people saying, hey, that's not the case, or you should do this, or you should do that. So that's part of the problem too. I don't know the specifics on that one. I didn't even get a chance to ask. I didn't get a chance to, have a conversation with that. I'm sure who will say that it was solely because of the size. He won't say exactly who the mandate came from because he's only going to get so much. So there's that. I don't know if Brew would come back. I don't know where Brew is at in his career. Not meaning like where he's coaching right now, but like, does he want to come back and start this over with? Does he want to do that? I don't know. And I don't know how he, the terms that he left, it seemed like it was good terms. That's just all speculation, whether or not he would come back. Respress was the direct recruiter trying to get Pons here. He then said no because he was told no. I was a part of those. Like, I saw the messages that Respress sent out saying, hey, I got the mandate that the team does not want cornerbacks of a specific stature. I mean, I was around the group. I was around the messages that we saw when we tried to get Pons recruited. T-Cal was in that group. He was a part of that push. Absolutely. That's honestly what really started the splinter with the rest of the fan base that was out there and how we used to be around and talk with him. He did say no. Like, that's the point. He was the direct recruiter that finally told Pons, you know what? No, we're not going to go in your direction. Because again, Respress was great in how he was available and communicating and part of that and was going after these guys hard. And he would take people's recommendations into account and then do his own evaluations and his own looks. And then he would bring it to the people who were in charge and say, hey, I think this is what's going on. I would love to do that. That's what these recruiters do. And then there are people that make the final decisions. Now, I don't know if it truthfully came from Coach Prime or if it came from Cory as far as the final decision of that. That's what I'm talking about here. I can't tell you. Again, all of this, I'm giving you the information I actually have. You can take with it what you want from there, and you can make more assumptions off of that information. I can make more assumptions, but I'm also going to tell you when it is an assumption. I don't know the black and white answer for that one. I just know what was told to these people when it came to the situations that happened, what occurred, why it was this way, and just what's going on. Yeah, he did do that as well. So he probably doesn't want to come back at that point. He also said he likes small backs. We recruited GUs and Price. Man can have a preference he likes. Like Sapp can be biased towards his home state. It's not personal. I don't think Sapp, don't bring up the joke that Sapp did because it was literally a joke. He literally had a video at the beginning of the year where he said Florida was king. Like, yeah, there's not that specific thing. But yes, each coach is going to have a preference of player for sure. Yeah, guys, don't do the Ronald Coleman stuff, guys. Like, yeah, did he make a bad play? But he was put in that situation. He was put in that situation and wasn't able to perform. That is what it is there. So there's that. And the funny thing is the Coach Mathis news, like I remember hearing that he was up for an NFL job. Does anybody else remember that information? Like I do. I remember even talking about it with several people that were excited about the that potentially happening. Again, I wasn't one of them saying like, "Oh, yeah, I can't wait for him to be gone." But I swear I had heard that already that he was up for some NFL work. So if he can get an NFL job, then he's getting an NFL job. Just like Bartolone left to get the Nevada job. Just like Cory Phillips left to get the Memphis job. All of these people, they all have a chance to go elsewhere and do something like that. Yeah, I could have sworn because when I was given that info from those people, I was like, yeah, I remember him, but it now makes sense why he stayed. It's why he made sense because I think some people said that he was like up for a job and he didn't get it. I don't think it was that he didn't get it. It was that he cares about Coach Prime dearly and wanted to be a part of that solution at that point and didn't want to have him to go find another coach at that point with what was going on, with what was happening and what was a part of. That was what I was told directly. Yeah, I talked about that at the beginning of the stream. I think a lot of that had to do with the new agent that got brought in. I think once he was presented with what his role and what he was going to be a part of this team and what he was going to get paid, I think they decided to go elsewhere. I think that's where it was. I think that's what all those players did. I think that they all got presented with an opportunity of, hey, do you want to be here? Okay, if you want to be here, this is going to be your role. This is going to be the amount of money that we're willing to pay you. Take it or leave it. A lot of those guys left it. because a lot of those guys were not going to be a massive part about that. Yep. There's been a lot of NIL movement with some of the guys on this team recently and there's been several that have gone to the same. I think it was the one that I've been seeing a lot on Twitter announcing that they've been signing CU guys was, I think it was Esquire. I don't know if you guys saw that on Twitter. I don't know what their connection is to the team. I don't know if they have connections. I don't know if they're good or bad with the team. I don't know if they have direct connections with the team or what, but there's that too. Let me get to all your guys'. I told you guys, super chatters, you guys would get priority. So if you wanted to be spoken to, that's what's going on here. Keith, up at the beginning. Will the Buffs have enough players to have a real spring practice? Yes, they will. You guys got to remember, we only have one portal, so everything's getting fixed come January. There's going to be by the end of January, we will have the team. We will go into spring practice. We will have who we're going to play with next year, and that's it. Remember, there's no secondary portal. There's not going to be kids leaving. There's not going to be changes after that unless a coach leaves. That's the only way that can happen. So literally by the end of January, we will know where we stand roster-wise, and we will get to dive in and critique and criticize the roster to your heart's desire. Okay? You see this Shimon Matera live. I wanted to cover this. This isn't a super chat, but I wanted to cover it because I didn't really cover it for very much. I was literally told by the same three sources because I said, hey, what about this guy that's getting all this information from players that they're talking about all this stuff going on? And their exact response to that was, those players are providing half lies and half truths. Okay. The half truths are, did Colorado not want to pay them money to keep them? Yes. The half lies are, they made it out to be that Colorado didn't want them. Colorado wanted them up to a point because, again, going back to my evaluation that I talked about with roles and money and what you were going to be used and what was going on and how you were going to be utilized, that was kind of the problem. But the one thing that I heard time and time again from these sources that have ties to a lot of recruits and kids, not necessarily the kids, by the way, that are talking crap on Colorado and feeding the negative machine as much information as possible, but other players who have decided to move on and just not said anything about it. The one thing they all say is Coach Prime is who you think he is. He is an amazing person. He is the guy you want to play for. You want to run through a wall for him. You want to stay at Colorado because of Coach Prime. No matter what anybody says. And the players who do stick around are sticking around because of Coach Prime. It's plain and simple, plain as day. The players who leave and are scorned and want to be mad and want to go to the press and want to go this and want to do the negative reports and all this stuff, those guys have a bone to pick with the team because they feel like they've been slighted by the team. They feel like they've been slighted by the team, or they were somehow lied to the team, or honestly, the coaches are just too honest with them. Any coach out there in my chat right now can admit, no matter what level it is, okay, because we even have this problem now at like little kids' age. But the player only hears what they want to hear. And what they want to hear, or what they only hear is, oh, that coach was negative to me. He said that I wasn't good enough to do this, this, and this. And then, bam, shut the ear off. I'm not hearing anything else. I'm not hearing anything else as far as what I feel like I should be hearing. It's the whole positivity culture that we're stuck in, the blue ribbon. Everybody gets an award. Everybody needs to be, heard. Everybody needs to have a piece. I mean, we're literally seeing that in our society now, where people who are losers in society are getting a leg up because they are a loser, because they have some angle to take on it. You see it with this. You see it with these athletes who get mad and go out there and I've been slighted by Coach Prime. I've been slighted by the program because I wasn't good enough. Now, if we want to give them a mouthpiece to then speak their words in their immaturity and their frustration, they're going to say things that they shouldn't say. Is all of it wrong? No. That's where the half truths and half lies come in. It's why somebody can parade them out there and say, like, well, what they're saying isn't necessarily wrong. So I'm happy to give them a mouthpiece on what's going on. That's the problem with giving the younger kids the mouthpiece to just say whatever they want. And heck, we're seeing it right now. By the way, guys, how many of these like podcasts out there from ex-players that they go out and they just dish all this information and they seem like almost scornful and they say some stupid things sometimes. I mean, how many times are they caught in saying something they shouldn't say? And it's because, again, you go out there, you let the filter down a little bit and you let behind the scenes of some things that you shouldn't, and bam, some things happen that shouldn't happen, shouldn't be said. And so the question is, who's giving that platform to them to say that? Who's having a conversation with these kids before you go live and say, hey, let's have a conversation about what happened. Okay, are you sure this happened? Okay, I'm going to go corroborate this with the coach. I'm going to go talk to the coach and just get their side of the story as well. And then I'm going to piece it together and I'm going to find out the truth, because the coach is also going to give you sometimes 50% lie, 50% truth. Everybody is. Everybody is. Majority. Give me the majority. Guys, literally, somebody on Twitter put together a list of all the kids that left CU and where they went. And it's like a 20% success rate of who goes on to be absolutely excellent, excelling players at a high level. Like, what? You act like every single person that has left Colorado, like people just keep bringing up all the other names of these guys who have gone out and scorned Colorado in the media. What happened to Gavin Colt? What happened to Gavin Colt? What happened to all those other guys that went to the media to try and paint the picture of Colorado and gun culture and all this other stuff that was happening? Do you know what happened to those guys? Oh, yeah, that's right. Nothing. They didn't do anything. Their careers were over. Okay? I'll give props to Colton Hood. Did he go immediately on you-know-who's podcast and talk about it? Like, yeah, he spouted out that, oh, Colorado didn't want him. Gave you the half-truth. The other truth could have been a lot of different things that we've talked about, reasonings. And were they all right? Were they the right gamble? No. And will they be every single time? No. Because, again, if it was that easy to know what my decision was, okay, if I knew that Colton Hood would have won us a national championship this year. Okay. I'm throwing out a hypothetical just to see how crazy people are going to mince my words. If I knew that a Colton Hood would lead to a national championship guaranteed, would I spend whatever money necessary or whatever I needed to do to keep him here? The answer every single time is going to be yes. It's going to be yes. And so the point is that it's not that easy. It's not that easy to make those decisions. Otherwise, everybody would be successful. Everybody would be winning. You got to make hard decisions sometimes. And sometimes you make a decision that bites you in the butt later on, that you say, you know what? I wish I had done a little bit more with that. I wish I had done a little bit more to do that. And there it is. And they made a mistake. Like I just said, it's not perfect. And he was successful. He's one of those guys that went elsewhere, balled out like he absolutely deserved to do, like every kid deserves to do. I'm not going to be one that's going to cheer for their downfall. And in fact, I did. I watched Tennessee games just to watch how good Colton Hood was. And there's plenty of success stories. There is plenty of success stories, but you guys keep forgetting just how many left and how many non-success stories there were too. And you can do that with any program out there. Any program out there has chased off somebody that they regretted later on. Or, kept somebody that they regretted later on. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. But what we need to do is stop platforming these kids to mess up what they have going on. Because again, it's not a good look for Shimon Mateer to actually, like, there's one thing to like feed information over, like some of the kids have been doing. That's kind of, the in-between way of like, well, I'm not going to get in trouble because they're not going to put a name to it, but I'm going to get out my info to this person, and you know why that person's going to say that info? Because they get stuff out of it. I mean, again, I told you negativity sells. Negativity sells. So there's that. Let me finish up with the super chat. Sorry, guys. Appreciate you, Dewey, for both super chats. Thank you for bringing light in this situation. I appreciate you taking the time, diving into this information. It's giving me a different perspective. I appreciate it. Again, you can come up with your own ideas on this. People already are in the chat. People already are on Twitter. I've got people who are saying, hey, this stuff makes sense. I've got people who are calling me out and calling me a liar. That's fine. Big Ike, I appreciate you for becoming a member of the channel. We are up to, I believe, 12 members now. Appreciate you guys. Like I said, if we can get up to 20, I might do some member exclusive stuff. I just don't want to leave everybody out. And the whole point of the membership isn't really, that much. It is a cup of coffee for a reason. It's just you saying, hey, I appreciate you. I'm going to support you on a monthly basis because I like what you do. And I'm entertained. Like, that's the big thing. I'm entertained because I've said that so many times. I'm not an X's and O's. This isn't anything like that. This is just hey, talking sports. Super sticker from Joseph. I appreciate you. $5 there. Out of my mind, make the coffee a latte. I appreciate you, out of my mind, for upgrading my drink choice. Although it's most likely going to be probably an alcoholic beverage at this point because I'm going to need it after today. Oh, it was a lot. And again, I'm already starting to get messages. I'm already starting to get all sorts of things. We'll see what happens. If I disappear randomly, guys, you know what happened. I spilled the beans where I shouldn't have. But yeah, you guys can find out with that. Cam, I knew you know some of this stuff. I'm glad you were able to bring this all to light because I knew this was all happening as well. Just didn't think people would believe me or didn't want that info leaked. Yeah, I mean, I corroborated it with specific people that I want to believe. So no, I am not suicidal. I'm not suicidal. Thank you. Yeah, let the chat be known. I am of sound mind. I'm a happy man. In fact, life's been great recently. Having a lot of fun. Love being back in Colorado. Everything's great. Oh, everything's great. I appreciate you. The funny thing is we started at the same time. Like, we started our channels almost like, I think, within the same week. We were talking back and forth. And then the slant just changed, and I can't do it anymore with that. Jordan, I appreciate you. Let me know what you think about the show. I'm going to be getting off here in a moment. We've been on for 2 hours. Absolutely insane 2 hours. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, what's going on. The comments are going to be absolutely insane. That's going to be absolutely insane afterwards. What draft stock? Who are you talking about, Major? Having Caden Salter roll with freaking Shermer is like mixing water and oil. So stupid. Ruin that kid's draft stock. You feel bad on a small piece for a person that came in here like that. Props to Dino up the SCO. That's how I found out about you, my dog Dino. I appreciate you, out of my mind. Appreciate you for being a member of the channel. Real quick, want to give a shout out to all the members of the channel. As I always do, because again, that is what you get, and appreciated for being a member. Big Ike, of course, new member. Minister of Philly, I saw you in here earlier. If you're still here, or you watch this later on or finish it later on, I appreciate you. Zach, saw you in here as well. Cedric, Jordan, of course, in here, out of my mind. David Walker, Joseph Melendez, saw you. Keith, saw you at the beginning of the chat. Northside, I saw you at the very beginning as well. Brian C., I've seen you a little bit. Louisiana, and of course, David Talks Buffs, for supporting the channel and being a part of it. Really appreciate you guys so much for being here, listening to me go over it. You can choose to believe it. You can choose not to. Like I said, I went off of the exact information I was given. And then, I told you the parts that I filled in and what was things that I was like, okay, now that makes sense because of that information. But there's definitely that. Appreciate you, Coach Dre, for everything you do as well. Good luck with everything you got going on as well. Yeah, guys, thank you so much. Hey, it is what it is. It's another Saturday. Let's see what happens by Monday. Okay, let's see what happens by Monday with all this information that I put out. And I'm probably gonna go a little viral on Twitter with some people clipping some things, maybe some things out of context. Because again, I told you negativity sells. That's how you go viral with the stuff. It is what it is. But hey, Mike, I'll keep you around. I'll keep you around. You may be a Nebraska person. You may like to talk a little smack. I'm fine with that. Peter, I'm fine with it. You guys at least every now and then make some nice comments. I appreciate it. Rob, I appreciate you as well. Boy, did we need that information. I now will likely survive the weekend. That's what I was hoping after yesterday. That is why I decided to come on here and do what I did. Let's help you guys just understand what's going on so that you don't jump off a bridge. You don't think that it's dumb, anything like that. I had told several Buffs fans pages to come watch your video because they were all freaking out bad. And I was always like, relax. Oh, yeah, I've been talking to David all morning. We've been having a nice time about it. It's why he went live this morning to talk about the Coach Hart stuff and just the changes, to bring that up a little bit. We'll see. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys so much. Rob and me are gonna do some things in January. I think he's gonna be back soon, guys. He's gonna be back soon. Loving all his stuff he does. Love all the guys he has tied with his stuff. We're gonna have fun. David's good. He's good as always. Hey, the Broncos are doing great, so that helps. If the Broncos were doing really bad too, David and I would be talking on a regular basis to make sure he's good. But he's good. I think this is a great way to end it out, Dave. I appreciate you. And I love what you have going on. Thank you guys so much for watching today. For Buffs News Weekly Live, if you love what I'm doing, subscribe, hit that like. As always, you got to throw out the rigmarole for YouTube. Until next time, we'll talk on Monday. Go Buffs.